Hello, my name is Brianna Cruz, and today I'm going to be talking about scopolamine. Scopolamine. Hi, my name is Brianna Cruz, and today I'm going to be talking about scopolamine, also known as devil's breath. Devil's breath is a white powdery substance. It is produced by the seeds of the nightshade plant. So it's extracted from a common plant that's found in usually like South America, and they extract the seeds from that flower, which you can see in the bottom right corner of the infographic. They extract that via a chemical process, and that then releases this scopolamine, or the devil's breath. In the past was used for hundreds of years by indigenous tribes during ceremonies. It was also used in rituals where if a king died, his mistresses and his wives also were forced to die, and they were given this drug in order to then pass away. As I mentioned, it's mainly prevalent in South America, and it's used as a criminal drug, essentially. It's an easy powdery substance. You only need a little bit in order to have the effect that's wanted on these victims, and it essentially makes these victims easy targets. It's tasteless, it's odorless, but if it's given in high amounts, it can be lethal. So in the early 1920s, the government, as far as US government and multiple governments from other countries, used this as a type of truth serum for interrogating foreign enemies. So this drug is given to people, and it essentially makes you at the will of others without being inebriated, without being unconscious or anything. You're still fully functional, but for some reason you give up your own will and do whatever others want. So this was used for interrogating, essentially. Because it's such an accessible plant, it's become an aiding drug in the crime in South America. In the Vice documentary that I watched talking about this drug, the plant was found in people's front yards all over the city, so it was easily attainable. Criminals will then buy large or small amounts, not a lot is needed, and they will give this to their victims so that they can do anything. It can be given just wiped under a person's nose. Sometimes they'll put on a business card and show it to someone, put it on a paper with an address asking, hey, do you know where this address is? And that person is then intoxicated by this drug. And it's essentially responsible for 50,000 crimes-related incidents in South America. So some crimes that happen, a person usually does not have any memory the next morning what happened to them. So these people will give the drug to the person, have them go to an ATM. These people will willingly take out all their life savings, hand it over to this person, and leave. And that's best case scenario. Sexual assault can happen, murder. Some people have had their organs removed. It gets really dark depending on the person that gives it to you. So it's really a dangerous and scary drug. So scopolamine, or devil's breath, it inhibits the G protein that's coupled with the postganglionic receptors for acetylcholine, and it acts as an antagonist. This produces peripheral antimuscarinic and sedative properties. So like I said, you're essentially sedated. It's also used in medicinal uses now in very, very low doses, and that's why, because of the sedative properties. But in the form that we're talking about, it's not used with the best intentions. Scopolamine, it competes with the acetylcholine and other muscarinic agonists for a common binding site on the muscarinic receptor. So as I said, it makes you kind of at the will of others. That is the main symptom, but there's also tons of other clinical symptoms. So acute psychosis, disorientation. Like I said, you kind of know what's going on, but you don't really know what's going on. You're in and out of it, but you're still walking around, and others see you as someone who still is fully aware and is totally in charge of what they're doing. You can have hallucinations, like I said, lack of free will, blurred vision, headaches, dizziness, urinary retention. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And that's because this drug does affect the urinary system. Dilated pupils is also common, dry mouth, sweating, and elevated heart rate. So like I said, the urinary system, we all know the urinary system filters blood and removes waste and excess water. Your kidneys, your ureters, your urinary bladder, and your urethra are all part of this entire system. And what scopolamine does to this is it causes urinary retention due to its antimuscarinic effects. So like I said, it is used in medicinal uses sometimes, and that is a side effect. So when this is given to patients and stuff, that's one of the side effects that they need to watch out for. So scopolamine, like I said, it can be given in very low dosages. So the legal dosage is 0.33 milligrams. And if it's given at a higher rate or a higher dosage, that's when you get these side effects of willingness and these bad intentions happening. If it is given at 10 milligrams, this is enough to send someone into a coma and possibly death. I stated before, criminals will wipe this powder under the nose of their victims and find other ways for them to make them inhale the powerful drug. It can also be sprinkled in a drink. It can be put in flowers for someone to sniff. There's multiple ways. You just need to have that person inhale it somehow or take it into the body somehow. It can also be given intravenous, but that's not really a common way that it's given. It's usually in its powder form and is inhaled. Scopolamine is not a controlled substance according to the DEA. That is because it's not as common in North America. It's more of a South America drug. In North America, it's more for its medicinal uses, so it's not something the DEA is really too worried about, that it needs to be scheduled under a certain criteria. But like I said, in South America, it is a bigger drug that they worry about, that the country worries about, that the government and stuff like that. So as a tourist going there, it is something that you need to watch out for. It can be given as a prescribed drug in small amounts, and this is to help prevent nausea and vomiting caused by motion sickness. And it's also used during surgery as like it helps with pain, and it helps with just relaxing essentially. So once again, this is a very powerful drug. When you're under the influence of scopolamine, you'll seem completely sober, but you're completely incapacitated. And they say this that you're almost in a zombie-like state. So you're kind of just going with the flow, you're rolling around, but this person that gave it to you is essentially in charge of you and can make you do just about anything. Victims often also suffer from amnesia after, have no idea what happened, find out when they see their bank account and it's completely empty. Someone tells them that they saw them somewhere doing something that's completely out of character. Like I said, there was that one story where a person woke up in a tub and had been cut open essentially and had an organ removed, and there was a note that says you have X amount of hours to get to the hospital because you can bleed out. And this person woke up with no knowledge or remember anything that happened that night before. So it's really, you have to piece together the story of what happened the night before, and a lot of people never figure out exactly what happened to them. Like I said, this can lead to sexual assault, stolen organs, and robbery is really the main form that is used for this. So like I said, this is a really dangerous drug. It's very easily accessible within South America, and a lot of people in North America are not aware of this drug. So it's really something that you need to watch out, especially when traveling. Thank you for taking the time to learn about scopolamine, also known as devil's breath. It's called devil's breath for a reason. It's very scary, and just be safe. Thank you.